Could you tell us about Elastica a bit?
Yeah,
Was
I
that
mean, that,
Were they from demos or
no,
from
no, no, no.
see them
It was
or?
Justine. I knew just um, from when she'd been in Suede, and and Suede supported Blur at a show in Brighton, and Damon asked me the following day if I had a number. So I'd known her for a while, and in sort of like the summer of 1992, she came to me and sort of said, "Look, I'm thinking of getting a band together. Do you know any musicians? You know, I've got Justin as a drummer. He'd been a drummer briefly with Suede, but she needed some. She was looking for other musicians. So I was chatting to our studio engineer Mark Waterman at EMI, and he mentioned Annie Holland, who was a guitar player. So she came up, she met Justine, they got on like a house on fire, and they put an advert in the Melody Maker, and off the back of that, Donna, yeah, they had about 15, 16 interviews, the usual, atrocious collection of people, but Donna came through, and that was somebody that really connected. So there you, I mean, again, so like Justine, Donna, Annie, Justin, four very different, disparate people, yet they had a fantastic connection and a gang-like mentality. And I think it was really good. I think Justine had a really strong instinct about who to surround herself with that could, make the band really, really special. And it's funny, at the time, I'd become a bit disillusioned with the music industry in the summer of '92, and I'd enrolled in art school, and I was going to go to art school that autumn. And then we did the demos,
Oh,
and the first demos came back, and I think it was Line Up and Vaseline were on those first demos. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the best
wow.
band I've discovered whilst I've been in the music industry. This is why I got into the music industry. Blondie were in many ways the perfect blueprint of a brilliant pop group that were also sophisticated and artistic and challenging and edgy. And I suddenly thought, oh my God, this Elastica could be this band. Um, and I deferred my place at art school, and we demoed them again, and the next demos came in, and it was another three brilliant songs, and I went to see them in rehearsal, and they were just great. And I mean, I loved them so much. They were the one band that I've worked with in my career that I actually thought, you know what, I'd give up my job to manage this band. I really, really feel they're so special. Um, and then, but sensibly, I didn't. I finally got to do. I mean, I was doing everything with them at that time. I was, designing the logo and doing artwork with them. I was driving the van, helping them manufacture t-shirts. We was properly, you know, doing everything you would do. You couldn't have had a more hands-on publisher. That was the lovely thing. We really, as a publisher and an A&R person, for me, that was probably one of the closest relationships I've ever had with the band. That you actually really got involved with the genesis and the start of it all. Um, and then they didn't want to sign to a major label. Justine really liked Steve Lamacq. He was getting a new label together called Deceptive, um, and so they put the record through that. They signed with Geffen in North America, and we got the album together. A lot of which was, you know, built really on the recordings that we'd done in our little demo studios at EMI on Oxford Street. And we had an amazing run, and being with Elastica was one of the most fun periods of my life. And I was so proud because I just felt what I loved about Elastica is that I felt they did offer a very different idea of what a woman in the music industry could be. It so many women that I know were inspired by that band. Indeed, I met my wife because she was going to buy tickets to see Elastica, and that's how we met. Um, but I think she was well,
Yeah.
all of them were, but Justine in particular was an incredibly good role model, for as a strong woman, competing absolutely toe to toe with her male counterparts. And I think to have her as a role model of what a female musical artist could be was really really important. And I was very proud to be part of that as much as they were they were just really funny people. They were they had great taste. I absolutely loved spending time with them. That was one of the but that was definitely 93 and 94 with Elastica were fantastic times, especially as the record blew up in America. They had a gold album in America as well, so it was the first time I'd had a band that really connected internationally. So we traveled around the world a lot together. Yeah, it was a really really special time.
Are you still in touch? Are you still friends?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I sadly don't get to
Because is she not
speak to
doing?
Justine.
She's now teaching at university, or
Well, she
what's she do now?
so she left England for America around about 2004, 2005, and went to study um,
Architecture?
art. No, she went
No.
to study art therapy.
Oh.
She couldn't do music therapy because she didn't have the right qualifications, but because she had an architecture degree, she could do art therapy.
Ah.
So she went and studied that, I think in Oregon, and she ended up marrying a professor that she met out there, and they live out in San Francisco now,
Mm,
out on the coast, and she has a good life out there.
great stuff.
A lot more sedate. She makes art. I think she found herself going down the visual art career, but decided it was probably too much like the music business in terms of the kind of star system and bullshit. So she
Yeah.
wasn't really that keen on that. But she does make. I mean, Justine's always made some amazing art. In fact, I've got that picture behind me. It's one she did. What year is that? 2018.
Oh,
So
sorry, show us
she's
again, Mike. You just cut out just as
sorry.
you showed it to me. Okay.
So that's a piece I got. I persuaded her to give us some. We were doing a Teenage Cancer Trust art auction, and
Yes.
I was
I was going to
very
ask you
kind
about
enough.
that.
Yeah, she was kind enough to donate us some art for that. But yeah, I mean, Justin, I keep in much better contact with. He's obviously drumming with the Jesus and Mary Chain these days. He's got his own band called Air Cooled, who are a kind of krautrock, motoric kind of outfit. They're brilliant.
Hmm.
He lives in St Leonard's on sea. Yeah, he's lovely. Annie, I've seen a few times since then. Donna, I see less of, but she's making music. She's doing art. I'm really really pleased that they're all doing well, and they are all doing well. So
Great
it's
stuff.
I look forward. I wish they could be persuaded to all come back together and do a gig one day. I mean, never say never.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love. I hope it would be good to get a reissue of The Menace, the second album, because that's a fantastic record that deserves, I think, reappraisal. It was a lot more future forward thinking than I think people gave it credit for. The problem was in 2001, people were still wanting them to make a new version of their debut album, and they were
Mm.
coming with something that was much more beats heavy. And I think Justine, she was living with MIA at the time, and I think that was more the direction she wanted
Really?
to take the band in. Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
yeah, no, that's how I got to know MIA through. I mean, MIA was Maya was lodging with Justine. So I demoed, the first demos that Maya did were done in the EMI studios.